Sometimes we'd like to repeat code, and we can do that with a while loop. Let's take this example here where we're drawing 4 rectangles on top of each other. We're kind of making a stack of papers. So we see that each rectangle is exactly the same size, but it is being written 10 places lower. Well, we can notice that this is just 10 times 1, 10 times 2, 10 times 3, 10 times 4. So if we created a variable I and started that with 1, then we could take 10 times I for the first location. And I is 1, so there's no change. Then if we increment I, we can do that with I++. That means take I, add 1 to it, and store it back in I. Then 20 is the same thing as I times 10, because I is now 2. So if we change that to 10 times I, we get our rectangle in the same place. Then if we increment again, I is now 3, and we can say this rectangle is 10 times I for this location. If we increment I again, I is now 4. And we can take that 10 times 4, and 4 is I. So we can do 10 times I. Okay, so now they're almost the same. Our X position has been translated into a factor of I. So now we need to do the same thing with our Y position. So that's 10 times I, 10 times I, 10 times I, and 10 times I. So you can see our rectangle lines are now exactly the same. They're all 10 times I is the XY position and size of 50. So now we could repeat that code and be able to draw our rectangles, or they're actually squares. So how do we want to do that? Well, we want to create a while loop. So we want to say, while some condition is true, then execute everything inside our curly braces. Okay, well that's not how we write code though, that's English, right? So let's write it as code. So while, well, what's our condition? Well, we want to write this rectangle 4 times, and the first time I is 1, the second time I is 2, the third time I is 3, and the fourth time I is 4. So basically we want to go where I goes from 1 to 4. Well, we're starting out with I being set to 1, so while I is less than or equal to 4, we want to keep executing our code. Well, let's put that code we want to execute in our curly braces. Well, what do we want to do? Well, we want to draw this rectangle. So let's grab this rectangle and put it here in our code. Okay. So while I is less than or equal to 4, draw this rectangle. Well, I is already 4 because we incremented it here. So I guess we better comment out this code so we can see what's actually happening in our while loop. Oh, well, we're only getting one rectangle, and oh no's has been telling me I have something wrong. Well, I is set to 1, and we're saying, well, I is less than or equal to 4. Keep drawing this rectangle. Only we're not changing I anywhere in this loop. So it just keeps running. It's in an infinite loop. It's going to keep drawing the same rectangle over and over and over again. So we have to change the value of I inside the loop in order to be able to exit the loop. Well, what have we been doing? Well, we've just been incrementing I by 1 each time. Now, if we add that increment inside those curly braces, the first rectangle will be written out where I is 1. Okay, well, let's move that code a little bit closer so we can see what's going on. So we're going to set I equal to 1, and we're going to check. Is 1 less than or equal to 4? True. Okay, draw the rectangle and increment I. Well, I becomes 2. Is 2 less than or equal to 4? Yes. So we go draw the rectangle, and I gets incremented from 2 to 3. Is 3 less than or equal to 4? Yes. So we draw the rectangle, and we increment it. Now we're at 4. Is 4 less than or equal to 4? Yes, equal, so it's true. And we draw the rectangle, we increment, now I is 5.
Is 5 less than or equal to 4? No, that's false. So now we're going to skip past the curly braces and complete our while loop and move into the next line of code. Here we don't have another line of code, so we're done.
Well, let's just delete our commented out code so we can verify that we are really drawing our rectangles with our loop.